So in a few weeks, a new decade will dawn. But while we're at the tail end of the 2010s, why don't we look back at what defined the decade? To start, we'll have to look at 2010. In 2010, we saw the end of rear wings on the cars in place of the good old-fashioned spoilers. And we've had them ever since. This season saw the resurgence of Kevin Harvick, as well as Denny Hamlin come into his own. This also was a season that started Boys Have At It, to which many did. This was a season we saw Carl vs. Brad jump to a new level. 2010 also was the starting of multiple restart attempts for races. The Hall of Fame opened up in Charlotte this year as well, but 2010's defining moment would have to be Jimmie Johnson winning his 5th consecutive championship. Moving to 2011, we have one of the wildest seasons in NASCAR history. The year was started out with a unique bang, as the Daytona 500, as well as all plate races for the Cup Series for that matter, would be filled with the two-car tango. This would also be the season that saw the points changing virtually to 1 point per position as well, similar to what we have today. The chase once again would be changed, this time to consist of the top 10 in points, as well as cut off with 2 wild cards based on the most wins of drivers from 11th to 20th in points. 2011 saw the loss of the brackets in place for a solid front bumper, covering the splitter much like what we see today. This season also was the first for Kentucky Speedway, which makes this the last time a new track was put in Cup to this date. The season also saw 18 winners. It saw Kyle Busch return to public enemy number 1. But it is most well known for the incredible battle between Tony Stewart and Carl Edwards for the championship, with the former needing to win 5 of the last 10 races, including the finale, to merely tie the 99 for the championship. To this day, it is the only tie for the championship in NASCAR history. 2012 was a season that was memorable to say the least. Juan Pablo Montoya's reputation in NASCAR was shot forever as he crashed into a jet dryer during the first Monday night running of the Daytona 500. This race was the dawn of NASCAR's large presence on social media, thanks to this tweet by Brad Keselowski. This season saw a ton of great moments, like Hendrick's 200th win at Darlington, Junior breaking the 4-year losing streak, one of the most thrilling finishes ever at Watkins Glen, as well as a crash for the ages. Bad Brad Keselowski would win Roger Penske his first NASCAR championship in Dodge's Swan Song. This move put the Cup Series down to the current 3 manufacturers we have today. But the most memorable moment from this year has to be Clint Bowyer versus Jeff Gordon at Phoenix. The 2013 season would see the boxy COT go out the window for the Gen 6 car, the car that is racing today. This season also saw the emergence of Danica Patrick as a full-time Cup driver, and she even became the first woman to lead the Daytona 500. This would be the highlight of her career. The season also would be a slow start for the new car, but not for Matt Kenseth. In his first year with JGR, he would win 7 times. Jimmie Johnson would cap off the year with his 6th title, overcoming Kenseth in the process. But the biggest reason to remember 2013 is definitely Spingate. This was when Clint Bowyer intentionally spun, allegedly, to help keep his teammate Martin Truex Jr. in the chase. For this, both drivers were docked 50 points from the regular season points total, kicking Truex out of the chase. For Truex, it was a gut punch, seeing how he had a good season to that point, even snapping a 6-year losing streak. In his place, NASCAR put Ryan Newman and a 13th man, oddly, in Jeff Gordon. The following year, in 2014, NASCAR made huge changes. Now, there would be a 16-man chase with eliminations for every 3 races until there was a Final 4 winner-take-all fight at Homestead. To get in, one just had to win and be in the top 30 in points. On top of this, NASCAR implemented group qualifying in this season and an appeals system. For fans, this was a great season, as the racing was incredible with 850 horsepower packages, as well as fan favorites like Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jeff Gordon returning to championship form that had yet to be seen in this decade from either driver. But In the end, it was Kevin Harvick who would beat out a winless Ryan Newman for his first career title. But this season is remembered most for its second race at Texas. This being where Jeff Gordon, Brad Keselowski, Kevin Harvick, and seemingly half of pit road had a flat-out brawl. Now, the 2015 season is one that fans don't look back on as fondly as most in this decade. This would be the start of NASCAR's path of reducing horsepower that we currently are on, as tapered spacers were implemented to bring the engines down to 725 horsepower. This was also the season that started using the automated electronic pit officiating and digital dash. There were some very memorable moments in 2015, including Austin Dillon's scary crash at Daytona, the crazy and controversial Talladega finish in the fall, the Southern 500 moving back to Labor Day weekend and starting the throwback weekend tradition. Kyle Busch would win a controversial title after missing a third of the season due to NASCAR allowing him to participate in the 2015 chase. This would be a huge story that returning broadcast partner NBC would cover throughout the second half of the season, as well as the retirement tour of a legend Jeff Gordon, who managed to make the Final Four in one of the most memorable races in this millennium. This race was both Jeff Gordon's final win, as well as the race where Matt Kenseth decimated Joey Logano's championship aspirations. The 2016 season was one of the more monumental ones in forming NASCAR's current state. This was a season that saw the full fields reduced from 43 cars to 40, the start of the charter system, and the dreaded overtime line being implemented. It didn't last long. This season saw some of NASCAR's closest finishes ever, including 2 in the first 5 races. This season was also the final for Tony Stewart, who managed to close out one final victory. Meanwhile, Mr. Popular, Dale Earnhardt Jr., would be sidelined for half the season due to concussions. What is most remembered for this season, though, are the closing laps of it. Due to his sudden retirement, Carl Edwards' final moments on track would be coming up just short, with the beneficiary being Jimmy Johnson, the man who would go on to tie Dale Earnhardt and Richard Petty for 7 times as a champion. The 2017 season saw more major changes. Now, the individual races would be run with stages where points would be awarded to the top 10 running at the time. Stage wins also earned a playoff point, which would be added along with winning bonus points to the new playoffs. Another change would be that damaged cars from crashes had a limited amount of time to repair their car, and if they were crashed out to the garage, they could not return to the track. This season also saw the first African-American driver in the Cup Series in Bubba Wallace since Bill Lester raced in 2006. This year would also be the swan song season for Dale Earnhardt Jr., with the most memorable moment of his retirement tour being a tribute Budweiser commercial to him. The most memorable moment of the season would have to be Martin Truex Jr. holding off Kyle Busch to get his first championship. The 2018 season was an incredible one that really laid out the groundwork and foundation for where NASCAR would head going into the 2020. Dale Earnhardt Jr. moved to the NBC booth from the track and immediately made an impact with his iconic slide job call. The new Mr. Popular and Chase Elliott would finally break through at Watkins Glen. That same day, NASCAR CEO Brian France was arrested and found both drunk and in possession of oxycodone. He has not been at a NASCAR track, event, or in anything having to do with NASCAR since that day. This cleared the way for NASCAR's current leadership of Steve Phelps, Mike Helton, Steve O'Donnell, and Jim France to take charge. This season also was the emergence of a superstar in the making with Hailie Deegan, as well as one of the wildest smash hits in NASCAR history with the Charlotte Roval. But what this season is most remembered for would be the damn war between Joey Logano and Martin Truex Jr. for the championship, with Logano coming out on top. The 2019 season would be a very polarizing one from the get-go, as once again the package was changed, with the engines going down from 750 horsepower to 550. But still, moments were abundant, with Denny Hamlin's second Daytona 500 victory, to Darrell Waltrip's send-off as a NASCAR broadcaster analyst, first-time winners and back-to-back weeks, brothers dueling in Kentucky, Chase Elliott's comeback win at the Roval, and Kyle Busch's second championship at the Homestead Miami Speedway's final finale for the Cup Series. But arguably the most memorable moment of this year could be that of Matt DiBenedetto's heartbreaking loss at the Bristol night race, as well as his emotional post-race reaction. And now we're here. Through all of the changes, the highs, the lows, and everything in between, the sport rolls on. So I'll ask you now, for you, what was the defining NASCAR moment of the 2010s? And also I'm going to ask you another question. What are you most excited for looking forward into the 2020s? Because the future is coming, whether we're ready for it or not. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to me for more great NASCAR content. And until next time, have a good one.